Hey guys, Andre here to talk with you real quick about the Splatoon Amino app, who has sponsored this video. Now, you clicked on this video, of course, to hear our thoughts and ideas on the new Splatoon game. But if you want to be a part of the discussion yourself, the Splatoon Amino app is a great way to do that. It allows you to connect with thousands of other Splatoon fans, with whom you can share and discuss all kinds of things, such as your thoughts on the new Splatoon game, tips for how to win, and even your own artwork. A couple of my favorite things I came across in the app include the super impressive artwork of what Link would look like as an Inkling, or rather, a Linkling. Get it? As well as this extremely helpful guide on how to use the Splatoon amiibo in the new Animal Crossing amiibo update. There is a lot you can do, so to check it out for yourself, all you have to do is click the links in the description below, or search for Splat Amino in the App Store or Google Play. And while you're there, you may want to try following some people like me, Andre GX, and maybe even vote in my poll on what the next Splatoon game should be called. And yeah, I actually made 2 Splat 2 Toon an option. Alright, and with that, let's get back to our regularly scheduled Splatoon Switch discussion. Hey guys, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Binder and Josh Thomas from the BitBlog to discuss what we want to see from Splatoon Switch. So let's get started. Alright guys, so Nintendo announced the Switch a few weeks ago, and as part of that, they showed off a game that looked very much like Splatoon, but a little bit different. So of course, it's led people, including ourselves, to think that this might be the actual Splatoon game coming to Switch. Now, of course, Nintendo has said that we shouldn't take any game shown off there as proof of what it's actually going to look like if it actually even comes to the Switch. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Do you guys think what we saw there is the Splatoon game coming to the Switch?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Unquestionably so, just because, like, to put in the... If it's not going to be representative, they would just use... this old stuff. They have a new level, they have new hairstyles, new clothing options. There's a lot stuffed in that, like, 6 seconds of footage that makes it, why would they put in the effort if they weren't going to actually use these assets?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the Splatoon team is, like, the most energized right now and has the most reason to start working on a sequel for Switch. So I think what we've seen, yeah, like Derek said, a lot of it seems like it is, solid ideas that they would have in a sequel.
So that actually brings up a more pertinent question then, perhaps, because it seems like we all think it's a real game. Is it just an enhanced port, or is it actually a Splatoon 2, or it's some kind of, like, more proper sequel? Because, there were rumors before the Switch was announced, and I think those rumors have even been reconfirmed since, that, Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon are ports, or enhanced ports. In the case of Mario Kart 8, we can see that. It looks like Mario Kart 8. But in the case of Splatoon, almost everything there, besides, like, the core gameplay, seems to be brand new. As you touched on, like, they have new gear, they're wearing shorts now. Josh, you touched on before, of course, the new shoes. It looks like variants of the weapons. The map is brand new. I mean, as far as I can tell, like, going off of that, it looks like a new game. But again, we just saw 6 seconds of it. So where are you guys leaning on this? Do you think it is really just more Splatoon, or do you think it could actually be a more proper sequel? And what are you hoping for from this as well?
Honestly, I think this is still just an enhanced port. I mean, it's really easy to just add a new level, a few new options. I mean, we've seen them put out stuff on a weekly basis for a while there. They were just getting new weapons, new variants, so it obviously doesn't take too long in the grand scheme of things and to get that. So I could easily see them cook up a lot of the new stuff and just sort of tack it on to what's already established in order to sort of get more people interested in the Splatoon name, and then take that experience with the Switch and take it into a proper Splatoon 2. So I'm still thinking this is mainly going to be a port with maybe 1 to 3 new levels and then the new accessory options, which isn't quite enough for a sequel, in my opinion.
But as you point out yourself, they gave the Inklings brand new animations for entering the map.
That is true. They did fix that up, so there's evidence in that favor as well. I mean, I can't say for sure, but my gut feeling is going on the enhanced port idea.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it is a sequel. I don't think there's really anything to suggest that it's going to be a port. Like you guys said, I mean, everything we've seen was pretty much new. And generally, if you're going to port something, you really don't change the animations like that either. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people just kind of feel like it's a port because it's like, we've seen so little of it. But I can't imagine them just I do think we will see stuff returning from the first game, like levels and weapons and gear. But I think that they will definitely treat this as, hey, this is totally a sequel. They will have probably new modes and new ways to play. So yeah, I don't think that they would... Because we've heard about a lot of ports for the Switch so far, or there's rumors of ports, right. And I just feel like Nintendo can't possibly think, oh, we're going to launch this new console and we're going to get people excited by just having slightly enhanced ports.
I'm actually kind of agreeing with you, Josh, because I think there will be a fair amount of ports here. I mean, of course, again, we know about Mario Kart 8. I'm sure Smash Brothers is going to be a port as well. You know, there's others, not necessarily rumored, but, you know, Pokken Tournaments is like another pretty obvious enhanced port, perhaps.
Well, and the third-party stuff looks like it could be a port, too. The NBA game and Skyrim,
Yeah.
those could be ports of, you know, pre-existing third-party things.
Right, I mean, exactly. I mean, I guess they're as much a port as any third-party game would already be. But yeah, you're right. So I'm kind of wondering if it's maybe more a semantic issue at this point. Like, I don't know if they'll actually brand it as Splatoon 2, but I also don't think they'll brand it as, like, just Splatoon again. Like, they may, you know, maybe they'll just call it Splatoon Switch, who knows. But I think they will I think they may position it as more of a new game. Just because, again, as you touched on, or as we both touched on, everything we saw here is new to some degree. And I think it just makes sense to run with it. I think we will see the return of everything in Splatoon, and I think they'll just build on it. I mean, we already saw how much they were able to add to Splatoon in a relatively short period of time, and presumably they've had much of the development staff freed up since they launched the game. So they may have been working on new content all this time. So I think I think we'll see the return of a lot of stuff from Splatoon. I think they'll build on it, and I think they may treat it as basically a new game. And I think that's, I hope they are, because I think they may, going off of that I think that would hint at maybe even more stuff they can add to the game. And I think this is maybe a good time to get into our predictions. So I'll throw out one here. If this is in fact a new Splatoon, or, again, it might be semantics, but I hope that they give us a new campaign, or build upon the campaign that was there before. I would love to see new levels, of course. The existing Splatoon game already took some of the multiplayer maps as part of the game, but now that we have so many more maps, that's new levels that get added to the campaign right there. And I would love if it is built upon that, maybe given more of a proper story, involve the Squid Sisters spoilers a little bit more perhaps, or Agents 6 and 7, wherever they were, and then maybe add difficulty levels. I think just adding a difficulty select would go a long way in just adding more value to it, because once you got through it, there wasn't much reason to replay it. But I would love if if they actually added maybe more enemies, like a heart, like a second quest, if you will.
Yeah, there's a lot they could do with the story mode still, I think.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights. The final boss, obviously.
Oh, so good!
Boss. Just want to see them achieve something like that again. So yeah, more story mode, a new story mode, or some new aspect. Like they did kind of get some replayability with the story mode with the Splatoon amiibo. But obviously, if you didn't get the amiibo, you weren't able to access those and have... it was sort of an interesting challenge to go through those same levels with a roller or the ink shot or whatever, the different types of weapons. And it gave it a new challenge. And to sort of include that right off the bat, I think would be rather interesting, or just being able to choose what kind of weapons you go into, or maybe having certain challenges. There's definitely a lot of ways they can expand upon the single player, even if it isn't like a difficulty select, like you say, Andre, maybe just specific challenges that they could use to sort of up your abilities with different weapons, and really okay, we want to teach you how to use this type of weapon. Pick your weapon, and here's a challenge for it to using only that, and see how you do.
Yeah, I thought the amiibo challenges were interesting in just that they gave you a different way of playing the game, but the problem for me was that the levels weren't built with those weapons in mind. So I would love if they, went off of that, actually build levels based around this, there's so many weapons now, but at least based around the main classes. There's so much potential there. But it felt a little bit weird that, Splatoon is all about variety, and you have the campaign to shove that one weapon down your throat. It's like, hey, I hope you like the, whatever that nozzle thing was, the splat shot, whatever. I can't remember what they're called anymore. But
as far as a prediction goes, if we're moving on to the next prediction.
Yeah, prediction or want, it's a fine line.
Okay, yeah, well, this is a want, I guess, more so. Splatoon has kind of lackluster local multiplayer in a way. It's okay, but it runs at 30 frames per second, and one player has to use a controller that doesn't have motion control, and it's just a battle to hit balloons. So it's okay, but I really feel like in the sequel, I'd love to see a multiplayer mode that kind of really does emulate what it's like to play online. I don't know if they didn't do that because of technical limitations from the Wii U, they couldn't get that running properly, because you can't even play 4-player local multiplayer, right? It's only 2-player.
Right. Yeah.
So I totally understand that this is one of those games that just works so well online, but I also feel that just as a Nintendo fan, I've come to expect Nintendo to care about local multiplayer a whole bunch. So I do think local multiplayer is an area that this series could improve on.
Going off of that, I'm not sure if they can make the competitive aspect work, but a co-op campaign Now that would be interesting to sort of combine your ideas. To just go with a friend and explore these levels and make progress and fight against even greater hordes of the Octolings. That might be interesting.
One of the problems that you run into is, Splatoon is definitely about like a team of people taking on another team of people, and that's what makes it exciting. If you're just playing like 1-on-1 or maybe even like 2-on-2, it might not be as exciting considering like the gameplay itself seems so fundamentally about a squad of Inklings, painting everything and taking each other on. So maybe it wouldn't even be that fun to play it locally. But I do think, Derek, like you said, just having more local multiplayer options and things to do is something I want.
Yeah, so I kind of agree. Like, I kind of agree with both of you. Obviously, having more options is good. I thought the 2-player multiplayer was pretty lame in Splatoon. So I actually really like Derek's idea of having like a campaign. Like, this is something we've seen in a bunch of shooters already, where they'll have like specific missions for multiplayer or cooperative purposes. And I think Splatoon is a great opportunity because of how dependent on teamwork it is, and how dependent it really could be in a single player or in a campaign focus. Like with you having to lay down ink trails for your teammates, for instance. Like you see, like in one scenario, maybe one person's up on a ledge, and you're trying to help a person down below get through this, purple ink infested area, and you have to lay down the ink for them. Maybe they have no weapon, in fact, even, or only a short range weapon or something. I think there's a lot you could do there. That'd be really fun.
Going off of that, I mean, man, that just widens the possibilities. Like, go online, having a 4-player co-op functionality, sort of like modern shooters, just with the Inkling aesthetic. Even splitting everybody up so that they work together in sort of like a 4 swords type situation, or maybe just going all out and having a horde mode and having Octolings constantly come in and have the occasional Octoling, the octopus girls, I forget their names off the top of my head, like their actual names.
Aren't they Octolings?
Anyway,
or
are they just Octolings, or yeah?
I don't remember.
They might be, yeah, Octolings. So I just go with that, and actually have them come in with their different weaponry and come in, and you have to hold them off for as long as possible, and they're just constantly covering up your ink, and maybe your ink gets drained away between each round, so that you can't just build up. There's a lot of things they could do with as far as co-op in Splatoon.
I love the idea of a horde mode.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, for me, and I'm sure that it's probably just me, but I wasn't really crazy about a ton of the new modes that they introduced. I liked like 1 or 2 of them, but some of them I just thought weren't that fun. So I think new types of modes like that would be a really welcome addition. Like the one where you have to like the splat zones. I didn't really like that one.
Oh, that was one that came with the game, right? That was one of the first.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I actually kind of like splat zones, but it was also infuriating because that was
right.
That was
stressful.
Stressful. It's way more competitive. So I enjoyed it in limited circumstances, I think, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, and I kind of also felt like, okay, this is just a mode where you have to keep running back to one certain area and shooting the ground nonstop.
Right.
And that's just what you keep doing. And it did get a little old for me fast. So I think new mode, different types of modes, like you guys were talking about a horde mode and like working together in almost sort of a 4 sword style setting, like Derek said. Just playing around with modes and really trying to explore further of what Splatoon can be about. I think that's something I really want to see.
Well, speaking of modes, I think one thing they could drop would be the time limited mode, or how they limit what you can play for 2 hours at a time or 4-hour blocks or whatever it is. Oh
god,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's only certain maps, certain modes available. Just get rid of that. Just either make it random or make it a vote or something. It was an interesting idea at first. I kind of liked I thought it was kind of interesting in how like everyone's on the same page and how the game seemed to be changing every few hours. But once you get used to everything, there's really no point anymore. So just remove that.
Yeah, I mean, it did make it feel like this is kind of a world that exists in real time in a way, but at the same time, I was more frustrated by the idea of only being able to play for 2 stages for like hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had like my little cousin, she was really into playing Splatoon and she would come over and play it, and even she was like incredibly frustrated that she was like playing the same stage 4 times in a row. So like, even to somebody who's like a really intense gamer like us, it's annoying, but I think it's even annoying for people who are just casually wanting to play something. They don't want to play the same thing over and over again.
I think Splatoon's like popular enough now that you could straight up just choose what mode you want. I'm sure there's enough people playing most of those modes that you could make it just just choose what you want to play.
Yeah, and can we also completely destroy Callie and Marie and never see them again?
You took one of my wants. Just why can't we skip that? Why can't we skip that
Yeah.
intro? Now, I want to stress, I actually love Callie and Marie. I like that they're in the game. But you should be able to skip that stupid intro every time when they tell you very ploddingly, what the current events are. And I guess they'd have to if they got rid of the thing we're just talking about, because there'd be no point to them anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't mind Callie Marie either, but the updates, like having to go through that whole list off every time, it just got old very. And the same thing with, man, if you took a ways away, you took some time off and came back with all the updates are happening, then you get to Sheldon and all the weapon updates that he would give you. Oh my gosh, that would drag too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
And they'll even stop you from playing. Sometimes they'll even stop you from playing and be like, we go live to Callie and Marie with an update. And it's like, what? I was in,
Yep.
So
You get regrouped with everyone.
and they could have even they could have achieved that even in the game the way that it is by just having like a signboard in the main plaza that's just like, hey, this is what's being played right now, and you just walk up to it if you want to know.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. You're right. They totally could have. They already have screens everywhere. Just have the screens display what's going on.
Right in front of the area you walk into.
Right. Well, speaking of the plaza, I wonder if that's something they could improve too. Like, what would be really cool, and I don't see this happening, but if you, I guess in cases where they have like a squad battles, right, where you can meet up with your friends and you go take on other squads, it'd be so cool as if you could stay as a squad and go explore the hub together. Like if you wanted to go shopping, you could just run around the hub and do that if you want, and you stay together as a squad. Then you move into the battle building or whatever to actually start a match when you're all ready.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, just a cute little.
It'd be kind of cool if you could trade clothes, maybe trade coins, help each other out. Because I know there's a lot of people out there with excess coins, and have already bought everything. So why not give it to some people so they can get new equipment and stuff like that?
That seems like one of the ideas that would be really fun, but Nintendo's designers would probably be like, well, we don't see what the point of it is. They'd probably overanalyze and be like, but what's the point of doing this? Because it's fun to run around with your friends in the plaza.
It is fun, yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to see that.
Especially if they added voice chat, which they won't. But if you at least if you could chat with your friends, I'm cool with there not being any voice chat for for random strangers. That's fine. But if you're
At the very least, emotes. Let us emote with the Inklings because they have the personality to get away with that.
Hey, you can do the yeah or the no or whatever
Booyah.
it is. Yeah, booyah. That's it.
Booyah.
Exactly. That's cute.
Yeah.
Speaking of gear, I think they need to come up with better ways of sorting the gear. Like, I go into Splatoon now, it's daunting. There's so many weapons. Like, I don't even know where to start anymore because there is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
I wish there were better sorting options. Like, put them by category. Like, put all the buckets into one category, put all the guns into another, put the snipers into their own thing. Just make it a little bit easier to sort through them. And I also wish it could save, I don't think this is a feature they added, Derek. You can't save loadouts, right? Like, if you could save specific gear setups,
so.
and that would be awesome. Like, why isn't that a thing?
Yeah, that would save you a lot of time.
Yeah. But, I mean, certain gear complements certain play styles and certain weapons. So, like, if you're a sniper, you may want to have, like, maybe a shield weapon, for instance, as opposed to one who has a more limited range weapon. You may want to go on more on the offensive, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues as far as, like, the whole loadout thing is concerned is you'd have to actually back all the way out if you wanted to change your weapon. You'd have to, like, leave the group, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something I think should be improved. Yeah,
Didn't
that needs to be researched.
they fix that to some degree, I thought, with one of the updates?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe they did. Yeah, I thought
Yeah, you have to back up the entire way to change your loadout. So being able to change your loadout while you're waiting would be very useful as well.
Right. Yeah.
You mean you don't still find enjoyment in those little NES games you play on the gamepad? Hey, they wouldn't have those anymore then. Like, you won't have those little games to play because you don't have two screens.
Oh, you're
No, I
right.
guess not. Yeah, unless they have like a little board and like a little section of the menu of the screen that you can.
Yeah.
Well, they
Play
do
them
have
there.
they do have the arcade in the plaza, so you can still play them there, on the full screen. But yeah, you're right. You would lose those little mini games. Although they could just add it into like a little window or something on the TV if they wanted to. But actually, that brings up a good question. Let's talk controls real quick, because going purely off the Switch trailer, this game would control differently than it has before, in that there may not be motion controls, and because you have to dock the main tablet or the main screen, and then you're playing with just the controllers. Now, going off rumors, it sounds like each of them may have their own motion controls built in, which I hope they do. But this game was such a great use of motion controls, it would be very unfortunate they're not here. But at the very least, you're losing access to that screen, meaning you can no longer tap exactly where you want to go, to jump between. Nor can you see, nor do you have that perpetual map showing you how much ink is, all over the map and where to go exactly.
Right, and that's one of the few times that I really thought a map was being handy for
Right.
me. Like I would always glance down at that map and be like, okay, we got to go over in this area, and that was very strangely useful.
It
So
was.
simple, but like really useful in the way that the game plays.
Yeah, the best they can get away with now is at least just pushing a button, getting a translucent screen overlay on your screen on your TV,
Right.
so you can see there. And I mean, there's still ways like if you can bring up a thing and you want to teleport, just pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and teleport to those points. Since you could only ever do the launcher towards one of your allies or towards your home base.
Right.
So there are ways, at least as far as the map functionality in those cases, that you can get around. But as far as quickly and easily looking at it, it's not going to be as
Elegant.
yes.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's one of the few times I think that it actually would lose. I'm not the biggest fan of the gamepad, obviously, but it actually was used well in Splatoon. I think it will lose a little elegance here, in that how simple it was. You just look at your map; it's always there. You have to press a button for it, and you just tap where you want to. Which teammate you want to jump to. Now that's something again they can do with an on-screen map and overlay, but it still wouldn't be as accessible, and it also. It's I feel like it's also taking another button. It's just not as easy to deal with. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit unfortunate, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Not too much, but oh well.
Yep. Well, one of the more obvious desires is, I guess, just more maps. I mean, I don't have anything specific here. Of course they're gonna add more maps, though, right? I mean, they already did that a ton with the original game. Why wouldn't they add even more here? How many are in the original game now, Derek? Aren't there like a ton? Isn't it like 13 or something?
More than that.
Yeah.
I'd say there's probably close to 20, but I don't know off the top of my head. It's ridiculous.
You know what? Actually, here's to make this a little bit more a better prediction or want. I think it would make sense that they focus more on the new maps at first. Focus mostly on the new maps available for multiplayer, and then start rolling in the old ones. Later on down the line.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And just bring in the new, usher in the new, and then like, hey, remember this map? It's back. That kind of thing.
Right.
And maybe even tweaking the maps, because they tweaked a few of the maps, previously, but I can see them making even more tweaks now, and like, so they're sort of remixed. So there's definitely ways to make that happen. But as far as like my biggest want, I really do want to play as the Octolings. Like they had all those rumors, all that sort of like hacking and data mining where you could sort of make it so you were actually playing as one of the Octolings. I really want them playable.
That's a great idea.
Well, you're just downright evil, Derek. They're the bad guys.
No, they're just misunderstood. The Inklings are making them, they're forcing them to stay underground, and they're keeping them down. How is that right?
So we've been playing as the bad guys this whole time.
Oh my god, it goes. How deep does this go?
That explains why they all have terrible shoe style. Evil.
But no, I think it'd be really cool to have like just put the Octolings in there and do something with them, or some kind of mode that features them.
That does seem kind of like it almost seems almost more obvious that Inklings versus Inklings. Like, why isn't it Inklings versus Octolings, right, for every multiplayer match? Why isn't one team automatically designated as the Octolings? They just have them go against each other. But now, extrapolating from that, how cool would it be if they had more objective-focused games where... I'm thinking like... they already have objective-focused games, of course, but I mean... making more asymmetrical, where maybe the Octolings are trying to perform a specific objective, like, I don't know, take over a town or something, and the Inklings have to stop them. You know what I mean? Like, a little bit like Splinter Cell, almost, where the different
Like
teams...
Counter-Strike, yeah.
Yeah, or like, exactly, like any number of other games out there now. I think that'd be really fun. Have the Octolings trying to do their own thing, and the Inklings are trying to stop them, or stop them in their own unique way.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have for you guys, and I don't know, I know that I'm probably way wrong on this, but
Well, that's nothing
did you
new.
feel... did you feel that the level design in Splatoon could sometimes be a little bit lifeless because of the fact that they were trying to make it completely mirrored on each side so that it would be even? You know what I mean? It made it feel a little bit automatically generated at time. Like, I'm thinking of that Hammerhead Bridge level. Oh my god, that one's awful.
It's an interesting perspective. I don't know if I really thought of it that much. But
I get why I'm wrong. I get why I'm totally wrong because
Right.
they have. I get that it's like they have to be symmetrical because otherwise it's not fair.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, there is. I mean, there were a couple of times where I'm like, wait, what side am I on? Just because it is hard to tell. Because it is
you can never really keep track.
Right. I mean, I think that kind of ties into the idea I just suggested. Like, that would be awesome.
That's why I brought it up.
Right. That's a really cool idea, actually. I think it would be neat if they gave if they had such a mode, which it probably won't. Again, we're getting to the point now where these are some kind of out there ideas, but it would be awesome if they actually had these custom-made maps for these more custom-made modes. I mean, it actually reminds me of Halo 2. Or I guess maybe any of the Halo games, I suppose. But I'm thinking specifically Halo 2, where you had some maps like Splatoon where they were symmetrical, like Blood Gulch or whatever, Coagulation, all those different names that map had over the years, where they were largely symmetrical. But then you had others where like they would take place in the city, and they were completely lopsided. They were very different depending on which side you were on. That would be awesome to see. Yeah, it may not be fair. Who cares? I think it'd be really fun if they switched it up in such a way where the maps weren't always symmetrical.
Here's a crazy idea. Could Splatoon get away with somehow coming up with some weird Inkling-related vehicles that you could get in? Or some sort of, like, big vehicle to operate in a level?
You know what's weird? I was thinking about an idea as you were saying that kind of ties in. What if... I love that idea. And what if that starter plate you start on, what if that was a vehicle itself? You could like drive it around, or like maybe it was like a little UFO. You could fly it around slowly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You could change your spawn point. That would mitigate the problem of having maps be asymmetrical, right? You could just move your spawn point wherever you want.
Right.
I'm not sure if that would happen, but vehicles, that'd be interesting. We saw that weird object when I was doing the analysis behind the spawn point,
right?
And I was talking to you, Andre. I was like trying to figure out what the heck this thing could be, and you came up with the idea, sort of expanded upon. I was like, oh, could this be a turret? Then you specifically came up with the idea of, a turret if you get pinned down, because boy, did that happen a lot if a player got disconnected, or you only had 3 people in your team. You just get driven back, and to have a way to sort of fight off this other team getting into your territory would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to seem like I'm coming down on the game. I think the original Splatoon is amazing. It's one of the best games Nintendo's made in a long time. I just think that what makes Splatoon so great is like what it could be in the future as well. Like, it's exciting to think of where they could go with all this stuff.
I mean, that's a great point to drive home. I love Splatoon. I gave it like our highest rating, basically. It's just they can always add on to it. That's what's exciting. Like, what more can they do with it? But it is such a new IP from Nintendo, which is something. I'm gonna get heat for this because when you ever suggest, it's one of the few new IPs Nintendo made, people always throw out all those eShop games that they made.
Dylan's Rolling Western says, right. Hello, Andre.
I actually did like Dylan's Rolling Western too, but this is like one of their first like biggest new IPs in a while besides Pikmin, and there's so much more potential here too. Like they've already done so much with it, but what more can they do with it? And that's what's really exciting here. Is I really do hope they add more to it in the Switch version.
They really have the opportunity too, because they basically took the shooter genre and give it their own twist that all kind of makes sense and is family
friendly.
Gave
it a fresh coat of paint, if you will.
Exactly. Except it's ink. I know,
you're
Andre.
Right.
Yeah, it's not paint, Andre. This isn't Super Mario Sunshine, your favorite GameCube game.
So. Yeah, it's one of those things they could just take a look at the shooting trends now and just sort of adapt it into this world of Splatoon and totally make it work and still stay fresh.
Well, see, okay, now Josh, you have to get on Derek for that.
You've been hanging out with Andre too long with these problems.
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay, so you actually both brought points there. Josh, your Mario Sunshine thing, and then Derek, something you said I can't remember anymore. Sorry.
Thanks.
I think it'd be cool if they started incorporating different kinds of Nintendo gear. Like, Mario, like Flood, we speculated about would be an amazing weapon type or just reference. Or just bring any kind of incorporating Nintendo elements into Splatoon as gear. I think that'd be really fun. Not as a main thing, but as a just a little occasional side item you can buy.
Even more so than the Flood, the easiest item to integrate into that is Shadow Mario's paintbrush from Mario Sunshine.
There you go. Exactly.
There's literally an ink brush item. Just give it that thing.
Yeah, exactly. I even toyed around with this, me and a friend, for an episode of Make Believe. We even did a bunch of concepts of what Nintendo gear could look like, and I really want it to be real, so yeah. I think they probably didn't want to do that so much in the first game because they wanted it to be its own thing and kind of get its own identity. But I think with a sequel, what the heck, just go with it. Tap your amiibo to get a Samus helmet or something, sure.
Exactly. No, that's a great point. I think they did want to give its own identity, and they definitely accomplished that. I mean, it's one of the most successful Wii U games. It's huge in Japan. So now they can build on that. I think it'd be fun to start incorporating other, Nintendo stuff into it. I mean, I think we got like a little taste of it occasionally. Like, wasn't there like a Warpipe shirt or something, as I recall? Or, I don't know.
There's a Super Mario shirt, but it looks really crappy because it's hard to actually see it. It's very minimal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta ask you guys: are there any changes you would want to make to the Splatfest, or basically just leave them as is?
Well, I mean, they had to bring him back first.
Well, there's no way the Splatfests are not coming back. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here; they are hugely popular.
So I can think of one change that they could do. And it involves not changing because they always take the shirt off of you and you don't get to keep those cool shirts.
Yes.
Which to me would have been great because it would have been like a memento of your time, like,
Right.
oh, I fought in this battle, this Splatfest, so I have the dog shirt and stuff. And so I think you should. And even if you wanted to get even more evil, maybe the winning team is the team that gets to keep their shirt, but if you lose, you don't get to keep your shirt. So it makes you want to go even more.
That's a good idea.
I like that.
Oh, now
Yeah, that was one of the things that made me not want to play the Splatfest anymore because I was like, well, it's fun, but I've done it so much, and what am I even gaining from it?
now you're making me think of a whole different realm here. What if they added betting? What if you enter a random match and you decide to throw down some coins, and if someone on the opposing team matches you, it's on. You win all their coins if you win, if your team wins, and vice versa.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would make the Splatfest feel like they're even more worthwhile.
Right? It actually would. Instead of those seashells. Which
You have a gambling problem, don't you, Andre?
you know it, man.
Listen, there's a wonderful casino in Hotel Delfino in Super Mario Sunshine. You
jeez.
can go there.
Well, you know what? Here's something I could throw out there. It kind of ties into what I just mentioned. And I was going to make a whole video about this. Maybe I still will at some point. I would love if they made Isle Delfino a map. Why isn't that a map? It seems like it'd be so perfect with this, building structure. It's pretty large. It's mostly symmetrical already. Like, you just make a few tweaks to it. I think that'd be such a fun map. Bring the whole Mario Sunshine map in here.
Totally.
I never thought I'd hear you say those words, but I enjoyed hearing them.
Probably way too
Yeah, I
much
think-
even.
I'm going to listen to this discussion a lot, that particular part. I think the reason is probably the same reason that they didn't really go overboard with the Nintendo references. It's probably just because they were like, well, we want Splatoon to become its own established thing.
Right.
So, but I agree. I think a lot of Nintendo fans would be like, ooh, Mario Sunshine map. And I think the sequel could be the time to do that. Even if it's like DLC or something later down the line, I want to be able to play some Splatoon in Isle Delfino. It would work perfect.
It really would be. Especially if you just spray, especially if they just had the Piantas just running around for no reason. You just spray them randomly, like in the background.
Well, the thing...
Yoshi's throwing up into different colors of ink.
They could even make it like one of the teams doesn't spray ink, they clean up the ink with a flood, and the other team is involved with making the mess.
That
would be like a whole mode,
There you
which
go.
might not be what they want to do, but that would be kind of a cute thing.
Yeah, it would be.
A little twist.
And as we know, water does kill the Inkling, so that works out.
That's a good point.
That's true.
Man, it all ties together. Getting back to the Splatfest real quick, I think something else they could do is, I mean, Nintendo clearly seems to be like they're almost finally embracing the esports scene, and we saw that even in the Switch trailer where the Splatoon scene takes place in this giant arena, this massive crowd watching people crouch around these really tiny screens playing Splatoon. How cool would it be is if they actually had like a proper spectator mode, or maybe even when you're just in the hub during Splatfest, what if it like live streamed in different Splatfest or different matches happening live on those screens?
That'd be cool.
Right?
Just watch matches as you're going around shopping. It would make sense since, that is the big thing about this. So,
Like,
yeah, I'd be down for
what would
that.
be really cool, this would never happen. Again, this is getting into the realm of, like, blue sky ideas. But what if they actually had, like, what if they chose games to highlight, and they had announcers for those games? So, like, you actually heard the announcer, like, over the PA in the hub, like, announcing what's happening in these matches live during Splatfests.
Inklings don't speak English, though. They have their own little chirpy language.
Oh, you're right. See, then that'd be even
Yeah.
easier. Just have some make-up language announcing these
So it'd just be like...
Exactly. all the time.
Yeah.
There we go. We need more Callie and Marie songs, too.
Yep. Oh, you definitely need more Kelly Marie songs. I love the music in Splatoon. I want more music.
Yeah, it's really unique. I love it.
Yeah.
They really tapped into that '90s vibe at like the perfect time.
Oh, this is a Nickelodeon game as far as I'm
It
concerned.
really is,
so
right?
'90s Nickelodeon.
We even had a SpongeBob Splatfest, so
Yeah, you're right.
That's true. Yeah.
Man. Is there anything on the more core mechanic level you guys would want to see or changed? I guess I have one idea, and it's not quite changed, but it will be an addition. I would love if there were maps in the multiplayer mode that had support for the ink lines. I love those ink lines from the campaign where you could activate them, right? And you quickly move around along them. That would be so fun if that were part of the multiplayer where people had to fight for control of all those ink lines, and then you could use them as long as they were your team's color.
And oh man, you could do so much, like if they're ink lining above everybody, or let's say you can go below and the other team hits the ink line with their ink, and you just get dropped out from below because you're sabotaged. Like, I was really hoping a map would take advantage of the ink lines because they're so much fun to just travel along.
They are.
Yeah, actually, I can't remember because I have the memory of a goldfish, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the things I said in my review as well, to where I was like, there's all these great gameplay components in the story mode. It'd be really cool to see those in the single player. Or I'm not the single player, in the multiplayer online. Because there's even more than the lines. There was also like cannons that you could get behind. You can really shoot. Like there's so many cool things that they could just literally take from the story mode, plop it into the multiplayer, and it would make it very fresh.
Now you're getting into it. Oh man, imagine those invisible blocks that you had to ink in order to see.
Yeah,
an entire map that's invisible, and you have to figure out where everything is.
That'd be ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, they can even change that map up occasionally. Like, you can change the layout of it. Maybe it's a little bit random each time. So you do have to fill it in order to see where you're going each time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, just like the platforms, and then there's just invisible pathways between them. But the pathways change up with each match.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Excite Bike track in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Continue.
So I love Splatoon. I think this is one of Nintendo's best games. But I will say I was not really a huge fan of the way that they just kind of leaked content out as the months went by. And if I'm being completely honest, there are some of the newer maps and weapons that I have not even played because I've just kind of got out of playing the game. So my question to you is, do you think that a sequel for Splatoon, or if it's a port or whatever, do you think they need to kind of launch more strongly with way more levels, more modes, more gear and whatnot? Or are you okay with them kind of doing the same thing where they just give it to us little by little as the time goes by and start off really small?
I think they do need to now, just because Splatoon's already out, so we're used to the gameplay now. So I do think they need to launch it more for the next one, or whatever this game ends up being. With that said, I was fine with the amount of content at launch for Splatoon, but I felt like it was so fresh, so to speak, and new at that time, that I didn't mind it. But at this point, yeah, I think they do need more, because we're already so used to how the game plays and, its mechanics. So they do need they need a stronger base now. At which point I think it's fine to build on from there. I thought it was pretty cool that they kept adding new maps and new modes to the game. So I think it helps maintain interest in the game, even months after it's been out.
I pretty much totally agree with Andre. I mean, definitely launch with more stuff right off the gate, but still build off it, because I mean, I did not expect to cover that game from May till basically January.
Right.
So that was unreal. And people were still really excited. New weapon. They were excited. New map. They were hugely excited. It just kept up the interest and gave people a reason to keep revisiting it. And, with it all being free, it all just kind of worked out.
See, I think for me, it was just that it was... the updates were too minimal for me to really get too excited about it. I wish that if they were going to update it as time went on, that would be like a pack, like a whole pack of things. Like, here's 4 new weapons, and here's 2 new levels, and here's some new gear all packed together in this one update. But maybe I'm alone in that. Maybe people like just getting...
I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from, but I wonder if it might be a little bit different for us, because we were playing the reviewer build, so the review version. Yeah, so we had a few weeks early, I think at least. Because by the time the game came out, I had already played so much Splatoon. I felt like I had my fill. I played a lot of Splatoon. So the new stuff didn't interest me too much either, but only because we'd already been playing it for weeks up to that point. So do you think that might be affecting it? Yeah. Whereas if we bought it at launch, that new content would come out a lot sooner for us.
Yeah, and also you don't have to redo everything. That was probably the biggest issue.
Right, exactly.
That's true.
So I'm pretty much out of wants and desires, like and predictions. Like basically more Splatoon, just more of it would be great. Just continue to build on what they have. They have a very strong base. I just want to see. I just want to see them continue to build on that. Do you guys have any final suggestions or predictions?
I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm good.
I have one final desire.
You always do. That's what I love about you, Josh.
So this might be a little strange, and I totally agree if people would be opposed to this idea, but Nintendo has done this in other games in the past. I would love it, since Splatoon is such a cool, trendy game with its style and stuff. It would be really cool if Nintendo partnered with popular designers like Adidas, for example, and made gear based on Adidas. So you could actually have an Adidas branded jacket or something in the game, or I don't know, any designer. I think that would be cool. Nintendo did it with Mercedes and Mario Kart, so maybe get some actual clothing brands to be represented in Splatoon.
That might be actually one of the most logical ideas I've heard from you yet. It does tie in perfectly with what we've seen Nintendo dabble in with the Mercedes cars in both Mario Maker and Mario Kart, as well as having real clubs in Mario Golf on the 3DS. That's a really interesting idea. That is a perfect, I don't want to say I'm a fan to be marketed to, but when it's done well, I don't mind it. In the case of the Mercedes stuff, I actually thought that was done pretty poorly. So at least in Mario Kart, I wasn't a big fan of that. The clubs in Mario Kart, whatever, that was fine. And even Wave Race, going way back in the day, to I think on both the 64 and even Blue Storm, they also had advertising incorporated in a pretty natural way. I think there's even a McDonald's who drove past to one of the maps. And it kind of when done well, it almost makes it feel more authentic, which is weird and probably something I shouldn't be saying, but we're probably going to be marketed to even more now. But I think that's a really good idea, Josh. If they tied in marketing, make Splatoon gear, in the theme of Splatoon, but also kind of based on real products, it's not a bad idea.
Well, if you look at some of the shoe styles, for example, you can tell they're meant to look like
real brands,
actual
right?
name brand. Right. In the newer screenshots, I've noticed one of the inklings for whatever this game is, Splatoon 2 or whatever, is wearing a pair of knockoff Adidas Superstars.
Right.
And so it's just why not just get Adidas and be hey, can we actually put Superstars in here and Stan Smith models and stuff? So that, as somebody who's obsessed with style and shoes and stuff, that would be make me go crazy. I'd be so excited to be able to actually wear designer brands in Splatoon.
It would be truly hilarious if they went full 90s and brought back the what was it, the Junko jeans that had the wide brims and all. Since they can change pants now, so
what I need are those pump up shoes where you hit the little button.
We need our Air Jordans.
Yes, we do. That's right. All right.
God.
All right. Josh, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you at?
They can find me at the BitBlock, or on the Instagrams, I am JoshyPants86.
All over the Instagrams, you are.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, how about you, Derek? But I think people know where to find
Gee,
you.
I wonder where you can find me at.
Well, you know what? I
You can
guess
find Derek at the BitBlock. He is the newest employee. I'm very excited to have him on board.
All right, and of course, guys, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. It's a good way to keep updated on everything we post. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Splatoon and other things gaming as well. Catch you guys later. Bye.